Well, greetings everyone, and welcome once again to another Wednesday night right here at the Sports Crib. As you can see, we are the Sports Crib, home of the Sports Crib Network. You can subscribe and donate on YouTube at our Cash App, $ JE King 3. So now that we have all our commercial stuff out of the way, I see we have a few people here. First, I'm going to get our usual guys up here. I see Dave is in the queue. Dave, how you doing this evening?
Doing okay.
And Reggie, how you doing?
Very good. Glad to be with you guys here tonight. It's fabulous Wednesday evening here.
All right. And tonight we have a very special guest, Miss Cynthia Burleson.
All
And
right. Welcome.
she is from the International Sibling Society. Am I correct here?
That is right.
Okay. And we're going to talk about them and their role in the race for global sustainability.
Global Race for Sustainability. Yep.
Okay, hey, I'm 2 for 2 here. Okay, all right. So, Ms. Burleson, why don't you tell the guys a little bit about yourself and your organization, and then we'll talk a little bit about the race.
Well, absolutely. Well, James, it's good to see you again. And what a fun array of conversation we're going to have here. It's nice to be with all you. So I look like a green machine behind this green screen back here, but is what it is. You ask about the International Sibling Society. We are a nonprofit 501c3, not too far from you all. We're in Reno, Nevada. So we're in the U.S., and we are organizing the Global Race for Sustainability, which is a series of 5Ks, 10Ks, half marathons, full marathons, or little bitty family fun runs, or a run on your Peloton in the exercise room. It's a series of runs around the world in over 190 countries where we're running to create awareness of the 17 Sustainable Development Goals.
Wow, that was a mouthful. Okay.
Yes.
Okay, so now is this an actual race like the Boston Marathon, LA Marathon? Is this an actual race? And you mentioned what, 5K, 10K? I don't see me and Dave running either one of those anytime.
Well, it's, again, it's a distance that's defined by whatever you're able to do. You're participating with a lot of other people. You ask a good question. What is this? A virtual, in-person event? How do you explain it to us? So I tell you, we could not do this race if it wasn't for the race platform, Race Roster. And if you are a runner, or if you have run a 5K or any run like that, chances are you've gone online and registered for your race, and you probably even have an account with Race Roster where you register for your race. Where the Global Race for Sustainability is on the Race Roster platform, and it's in the virtual category. So it's a virtual race, and I can tell you people are running this race since May, and they continue until July 20th, which is when we're that's the end. And we're wrapping it up before the Olympics start. And so, it is neat because when you go to the Race Roster website or platform to register, you're prompted to download the app that goes with it. So it's Race Runner, and you or actually I forget the name of the app every time. I'll turn it on here just to kind of say what it is, but you don't even have to know what it is because it's connected to the registration site. And you just when you go to start your race, when you're ready to run, you just open your door, walk out, start running, And well, actually, there's one other step you got to do. You have to. Here's the app. Well, anyway, it's not going to work with me today at this point. You know what I did? I have to tell you a story about this if I get a chance. But anyway, you just go, you hit the start button. It's a blue button, and you are a blue place you hit on your phone, and it starts you on your race, and then you just go. And when you finish, you hit done, and your timing goes on the leaderboard. I can tell you we have a group team in Kenya. In Kenya, they get all the world records for fast runners. So if you are a fast competitive runner, you've got to run against Team Kenya because they're going to be on the leaderboard too. So, I'm always the last one. I'm at the back of the group with my dog. So.
Now you set us up for the story. Now you can't stop. I mean, come on now,
Oh, I have to tell you. You want the story about the app?
Well, you set us up for some kind of story, whatever that story was.
Oh, well, okay. I just told you that I was always the last, right? Well, I was just doing. I could go to the app and I could turn it around, and you see the map and you see the start button. But last conversation I was having with somebody, and I was doing it just a few hours ago. Apparently I hit the start button and I go, oh, no. And so it registered me for 3 seconds. So, I guess I probably beat Team Kenya just, with my 3-second run. And that's why my phone's not queuing up right, because I just ran the race and I just ran a 5K in 3 seconds. So
it is a virtual run, or do you have to, like I said, I mean, when you get on there, you mentioned Peloton. I mean, I would imagine, like people, like you say, all over the world. I know it's cold somewhere. Somebody is using a Peloton. I can guarantee that somebody is using a Peloton. So, how do you incorporate that? Is there another, as they say, is there an app for that?
Is there an app for the running on the Peloton?
Yeah.
The same exact app that everybody else is using, no matter where you are in the world. The one that's connected to the race.
Okay.
So, you bring up a good point there as far as running. Is it, and you keep going back to, is it virtual? Is there people out there running in masses? There can be. Each country organizes their own selves how they want to run the race. So if they want to run as a group, they can run as a group. That's not a problem. And there's over 190 countries. So we are just the organizing platform. The countries on the ground decide who's what they're going to do. And I'll tell you, the first person that registers that by default is the captain. So, the captain makes the rules in their own country. So they do what they want to do in each country. So everybody is a little bit different. We are finding that people are pretty darn spread out. And a lot of people are kind of on their own as far as running, which is fine too. Running groups, you can take one of your running group meetings. Usually running groups, they'll meet a couple of times a week, and you could just, sign up for the race, take your phone there to your regular weekly run and run with a group of people that way. Another thing that's kind of interesting is that we actually have the freedom, I guess, in our country, that we can walk out the door and run if we want to. And that may or may not be the case in other parts of the world. Maybe you're thinking of a country that may not be that safe to just open up the door and start running. You might not be a good thing. So maybe the political climate is such that, running might not be a good idea. So you can run for the country of your choice. If there's a country that you feel like you want to run for, you just choose that country when you go to register, just from a drop-down menu of.
So now, I live in San Diego. Dave lives in Maryland. Reggie lives in Atlanta. So how do we form a team? If we register, are we just Team USA?
Well, there is a Team USA, so you would be joining the Team USA. I think that's a great group. You guys are like triangulating across, the states. You ought to have, a sports crib team that runs, but it's just as simple as that. You pick a time in your time zone that if you wanted to run it together, and you open that door, pull out your phone, hit start, and go. And then when you come back in, you hit stop, and it's just that easy.
Okay, now how did you get into? Well, you mentioned something about 17 global products or something. What was that?
Right. Well, we are running this race to create awareness of the 17 Sustainable Development Goals, and they are a set of. Do we have well, it's probably too complicated to do a screen share or anything like that, I guess. So I could just explain what the 17 Sustainable Development Goals are, but they're big goals. They're big goals for humanity, and they started. People started talking about them in conventions in Rio de Janeiro, and I did a podcast in someone in Rio de Janeiro last night, and we talked. And she was there in 2012 when the initial conversations started happening about what should we do as humans to make the world a better place. What do we need to do to make life better on the planet for ourselves, for other species, and for the planet itself. And so a series of conversations took place. And then around 2015, a document was created through the United Nations where all of this input and all the different countries had worked for years on it. And they came up with 17 Sustainable Development Goals. And they're things like, big deal, big, lofty goals. They're like ending poverty, zero hunger, quality education for all, gender equality, decent work, economic growth, clean water and sanitation, life in the oceans, life on land. And then my favorite, which is number 17, which is partnerships for the goals. So they're big, hefty goals.
Well, can you kind of go through number 17, partnerships for the goal?
Well, yeah, that's my favorite one. That's where, like, just in what we're doing now, we're reaching out, across countries and across, states here with this show, and talking about and working together on the goals. It's as simple as partnerships like that. I can tell you these goals, they're pretty big ones. And there's a lot of debate as to whether or not we'll reach these goals or not. A lot of people say, oh, that'll never happen. Won't be able to do that. And a lot of people are saying, well, we're trying. We're going to get as far as we can, I was actually listening to a conference yesterday that was in Malaysia. And there was some reports that had just come out that was kind of grim. We actually have only achieved about 17% of these goals moving forward. So it was kind of interpreted as that being kind of bleak news. We do have until the year 2030 to complete these. So we're still, striving and working and all of that to achieve the goals. So, but it is a big debate. Will we make it? Is it even possible to reach these goals? Are these goals too big?
There are a few that I can think of that 6 years might be a quick comeback. But I'm going to turn you over to some of the guys here, and they might have some questions for you. Dave?
Sure. So this sounds almost like implementation of the UN's Universal Declaration of Human Rights, which has been around since just after, It all started, I think, with Eleanor Roosevelt, actually, even before the UN started. So is there a relationship between the Global Race for Sustainability and the Universal Declaration of Human Rights?
Oh, not officially from where we're concerned, but I'm sure there is some implications and some ties, you
Yeah.
know.
Yeah, because there are a whole set of principles
Mhm.
that the idea of is that anybody in the world, they shouldn't have to face hunger. They should be entitled to an education. I forget the number of specific rights, but it's actually laid out in the UN document called the Universal Declaration of Human Rights, which countries were supposed to endorse. Now, what happens is like when you get into things like gender equity or um, LGBTQ rights and stuff like that. Well, what happens is in different countries, like some of the Muslim countries, that runs into a little bit of a problem. But then what's happened is that you have subregions around the world that have implemented their own regional declaration of human rights as a part of, to kind of recognize the religious differences, the cultural differences of people around the world. But to me, 17% sounds amazing. To end world hunger. Depending on how far along we are. Of course, today we're much further along than at any other point in history in terms of achieving some of these goals. So I think just having that type of a goal is a good thing, because if we're working toward that, um, then we're having progress. If more people have access to food, if more people have access to clean water, if more oceans are relatively cleaner than they were in the past, well, then we're moving in the right direction. Hats off to you for that. I guess my question is then, one is, it sounds like a big thing about this is awareness, but then with the donations and the monies that you collect, where do they go?
Mm-hmm. Okay, you've three things that you've said that I definitely want to pick up on. So they're all in my mind. If they get stuck there, pull out those three things that you just mentioned, because I want us to talk about each one of them. You mentioned a UN document about that Eleanor Roosevelt did. What was the name of that?
Well, she didn't do it, but she kind
Rights.
of, the Universal Declaration of Human Rights.
Okay, there you go. The Universal Declaration of Human Rights. All right. So my observation and my understanding, and this is how it works at the UN. There's a lot of different documents and conversations going on at the same time, and they all last for many, 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 many years. And tons of input is gathered from many, many countries on each and every one of these things. But they are individually separate documents, separate conferences. Some of the issues may sound the same, but there is a different, that we're talking about two different things. You're talking about one document, and then we're the Global Race for Sustainability is based on the 17 Sustainable Development Goals, which is another document. So we're just talking about different documents. And I can tell you, when the International Sibling Society started in 1998, everybody was talking about the Millennium Development Goals. So we're working towards that as humanity. And then, the year 2000 came around, and, time's up. And then we started working on the Sustainable Development Goals. So I do assure you that after 2030, we'll see how far we are, and there'll be a different set of goals, a different document. So that's just kind of how the process goes at the UN. So different issues, but maybe some of the same people working on both documents. And then your second talk, or what you have to pull it out. It's skipping me on that second question. But the third question was about
resolving the differences between different cultures and religions, and that was that the one?
I'm not sure about that one, but the third one was about money. I think you were alluding to money raised, where does money go? Is that your question?
Yeah, because if you're able to donate, well, then it's collecting money. So it sounds like you're a 501c3, a PAC,
Well, not a
and
PAC, but a
or
501c3.
but a 501c3, excuse me. But
Mhm.
so then you're collecting money, and then it's like, okay, well, where is that going towards helping win the race for sustainability?
Great question. I can tell you right now, all the money that comes in on this race is going right back out in scholarships. As a matter of fact, we're doing more scholarships to get more people to run the race than we are bringing in money. It's not as much a fundraiser. That's not actually one of our goals, is a certain amount of money that we're raising. When you do register for an event that has a fee, it's a request, it's a donation, and that donation goes straight to the scholarship fund. And let me tell you what that looks like. The breakdown of the sub events for this race are, first of all, there's a free family fun run. Don't have to pay anything, run whatever distance you want to, or walk whatever distance you want. The second one is a 5K, and I'm sure going to get these amounts wrong, but I think it's $20 to register for the 5K, which if you're a runner, that's a modest amount. That, because some of them are like, $85 I think was the last one that I ran. And then the next race is a 10K. I think it's $30 donation. The next one is a half marathon for $40. And then the most expensive one we have is the full marathon for a $50 donation right there. So that money goes straight into the scholarship fund. So a $50 scholarship, a $50 registration fee for us in the U.S. means a $50 registration fee. At some tables, that's a lot, and a scholarship would be appreciated. All right, but at some tables around the world, that's half the annual salary that a person would bring in, half the annual income a person would, bring in some families and some kitchen tables around the world. So our money that we raise in this event goes right back out to be able to, have participants from all of these countries that would not be represented if they had to pay a $50 registration fee.
So the scholarships are for participating in the race,
to increase the number of people running in the race.
I see.
So,
all right, and then the other thing that I wanted to ask, just from a practical aspect. So, like I don't run that much anymore, but I used to run a few times a week. So it sounds like I could incorporate this into my regular workout. Hey, I'm going to go out, run a few miles or a few kilometers, and whenever I do that, I can just click to start. Whenever I start my run, and whenever I end my run, click it off. Is that the idea?
Sounds good. Now, you know what? I'm going to make it even easier, like how this really works. I know. With the 17 Sustainable Development Goals, they're hard, right? They're not easy. Well, just like in our race that we're running, we've got goals, and our goals are not that easy. 190 countries, that's a lot. Okay, over 190. And our goal for the number of participants is 1,000 participants this year. So around the world, that's a modest number, but still, we're working it. We're asking for participants. So we still need more people to reach our goal of 1,000 people. So what you just said sounds like something I could work into my, routine or what have you, what I'm regularly doing. Boy, that helps us out so much, because you're helping us, even if you register for free family fun run and you just open up the door and you start walking or running as a regular routine, you count as one of our participants. So you bring us closer to that 1,000 that we're trying to get. So we would love it if you and others would do the same thing. But it doesn't count unless you register through Race Roster. We won't even know what you're doing.
Right. So the 17%, when you were talking about the progress, was that based on the number of participants that you have around the world? Is that what the
Okay,
progress
that
is?
actually, the second thing that we forgot about, it slipped around in here somewhere, was when you talked about that 17%. All right. Now, there may be, we're going to clarify what that 17% is attached to. But what I appreciated when I heard you speak about it was that you sounded positive. And it was,
Right.
it was like, oh, hey, 17%, this is good. So you can look at, what is it, the cup half full or half empty? You can look at it either way. And I appreciate the way that you looked at, hey, 17% sounds good to me, so I appreciate the way you said that. Let me just clarify that 17% came from the United Nations big report that was dropped recently. I heard about it last night, but it was dropped probably a few months ago. It was just a report from the UN on how we're doing with all of the goals, where we are.
So how far we are to ending world hunger,
right,
to preserving the cleanliness of the oceans, etc.
right. And we can go down into more detail on those numbers too when we start talking about the data, if we go there. But just in general, all of the 17 goals, it's ironic. There's 17 goals and we're talking about 17%. I'm just now realizing the same number. Isn't that funny? But where the report at the UN was saying we've only accomplished 17%. And this was with a group of academics. It was an academic conference in Malaysia last night or 24 hours ago. And they're like, oh, this sounds like terrible news. And it's just sad reading that we've only reached 17%. Is what they were saying. And, but we do have until the year 2030. And I like your way of looking at it with the 17%. I can work with that kind of attitude.
Yeah, if 2030, if you're at 45% or 60%, it's a lot better than going back to 10 or 9%.
All right, guys. Well, we got to cut this short. This is the Sports Crib. If you want to carry on this conversation, you can come to the Diamond Factory Friday, and we will be talking with Cynthia again. So, Cynthia, why don't you give us your final thoughts for the evening, and let everybody know, like you said, that they can register at what did you say it was, track?
Well, if you go to the website, which is right underneath my name, I think it says issnow.earth. That's where you can register. It stands for International Sibling Society Now.Earth, the planet. And at the top of the website is a link that says 2024 Global Race for Sustainability, register here. So you just register here or click that and it'll take you to the registration platform. So, and Reggie, I wish we had been able to talk more.
Well, I would have only had a statement in general. I would not have had any questions. I would have just said, continue doing what you're doing. I applaud you for what you're doing. The goals may seem lofty, but if you don't even attempt to get there, then you'll never get there. So just an applauding of what you're doing there. That's all I would have had.
And as I said, we will continue this conversation with Nancy on our sister show. So thank you so much for coming on tonight. Cynthia, I'm sorry, I don't know where the Nancy came from. But anyway.
As I said, I don't think we have a Nancy on the show today.
So Cynthia, we thank you for your time, and we look forward to talking about this race again. Now, you said it ends on July 20th?
Yes.
So we
watch the Olympics. Whole other topic.
Yeah.
So we still have a little time to participate and get in. I'm going to see you were speaking about sponsorships, and maybe the Sports Crib can sponsor a team or something.
Absolutely.
So we'll see how that goes. So thank you so much for your time tonight, and we look forward to talking with you again.
Thanks for having
Thanks.
me.
Take care, Cynthia. Nice chatting with you.
So how's everybody tonight?
Pretty good. Pretty good. Can't complain. Can't complain, man.
Yeah,
Ready to talk some sports here. Ready to get it on.
I do see Mr. Scott there lurking around in the neighborhood. I saw him tapping in and out here. Reggie, you missed the big announcement last week. We're going to try to have a debate here between Mr. Scott and Demetrius, and Don.
Debate, huh?
And Don is going to be the moderator.
Oh wow.
So Don is going to be gone for 2 weeks. So, we have that much closer to the season. The topic is the Vikings or the Lions. So, of course, adding fire.
Well, because Demetrius is ducking so much, there might have to be a stand-in, and maybe Reggie from also. I want to call him out too. He's been ducking.
I am ready to go, man. If I have to stand in, I'll do it. I'll do it for the country, man. Absolutely.
Kirk Cousins. I want to hear about that.
I want to hear about it myself.
He's been avoiding talking about Kirk Cousins. He's been avoiding it the whole time, and he's right here now.
Let's see. Yeah, he's been calling you out too, Reggie.
I'm ready to stand in, man. If I have to do it for the country, man, I'll do it, man.
Well,
what a great patriot. Wonderful.
Yeah, man, thank you.
Yeah, I'm waiting to hear about the Vikings' role this year myself. So it should be very good. I think he really wants to fight with me and Dave, but that's okay. We'll take him on one at a time. It's all right.
we all got to get in line, evidently.
There you
debate.
Go.
You know what I mean?
Just like dominoes, we'll knock them down. We'll be just like dominoes. No sweat, no problem whatsoever.
All right, guys, let's have a little fun here. Let's talk a little NBA. I know, it's a lot of fun here. Boy, I got some. Lord, I can't wait to get to it. But anyway, one and done. The championship Celtics are for sale. Are you buying, selling, or trading your Celtics stock? Mr. Scott, your Timberwolves are in the race next year. What are you doing here?
Yeah, I was really hoping the Timberwolves would have gotten Clay from Golden State. That would have just, made this a done deal all the way around. And I know that his dad wanted him to go to the Lakers. His dad, Michael Thompson, he played up here at the University of Minnesota. And he came up here to the U with a lot of guys from the Bahamas. And some of them went to Mankato State with me. So I know he wanted his son to go there. I think the Wolves are they got so close, they got a taste of it, and I think they want it. And I think next year they're going to get it. I mean, I'm going all in. I don't ride bandwagons. Everybody knows that. I don't ride bandwagons because I tell people, if you want to ride a band, get off and stay off. That's what my friend Kevin Garnett said. You don't want to be on the bed, get off and just stay off. Don't come back, So, but no, I'm with the Timberwolves all the way. And as far as Boston, boy, they got it done. I mean, they slipped up on people there in the East. I don't see anybody that can challenge them in the East. So it looks like them and Timberwolves.
So you're keeping your stock or you selling with the Celtics? It'll be the Celtics and the Timberwolves next year.
Oh yeah. I'm keeping them. I don't see any reason why they wouldn't. I mean, look at the people in the East. The Beard. The Beard doesn't really want to play. The Beard just comes in gestures.
You He just signed an extension with the Clippers.
Yeah, well, that's their fault. So I mean, that's their fault. So yeah, I think the Timberwolves really should rise to the top. They got real close, and they see that they can do this. So I'm going with that. And Boston. But of course, that's down the line. A lot of things can happen between now and then.
Did you write a letter of apology to Mr. Gobert?
No. You should write the letter. You should write. You're the one. You're the one that tried to say that. Oh no.
I got the tape. I got the tape. You know, I'm like,
I was gonna say I was on some of those shows. I don't remember it the way that he's saying it. Like, you know, it wasn't the love affair. Let's say it wasn't.
I think you're going to be another domino, Reggie.
I thought Dave was the guy. I thought Dave was the one coming out of the audience with the brass knuckles. I thought he was the one that was. Okay.
Man, I was present for some of that Gobert hate, man. Absolutely.
Okay, guys. The end of the Splash Brothers. Mr. Scott just mentioned it. Even though his dad wanted him to come to the Lakers, Klay Thompson decided he would sign for 3 years, $50 million with the Mavericks. So, is Klay that missing piece to get the Mavs back in the finals? What do you think, Reg?
I don't know if he's a missing piece, but I know that he's closer himself than the team he just got off of, and then going to the Lakers. He went to a team that gave him the best chance to get back to the championship game, at least be in the hunt there. So I think I don't know if I think he fits well with them. I thought that was a good fit when they first signed him. And they're getting him for about roughly $16 million a year, which is like a bargain today. You got some bums getting paid 25, 30. So I think it's a value for him. But I will say that I think that it's a better signing here with the Mavs than with the Lakers. I think for him, I think he's closer.
What do you think, Mr. Scott? Do the Mavericks? Well, I mean, that would mean his Mavericks would have to beat your Timberwolves, right?
Well, from a fan standpoint, I would have loved to see him come here to the Timberwolves, obviously. But and then second, I guess from a fan standpoint, I would have liked to have seen him go to the Lakers. I mean, I think the Lakers need some juice. They need to, is LeBron going to continue? And then, the Bronny, oh, gosh. I'm not even going to touch that right now. I don't want to touch it right now. I don't want to touch that.
Oh, my God.
Yeah, that's so LeBron, take my talents.
We'll talk about him, too.
I think Klay feels the same way that Mr. Scott feels about the Lakers. I think I think y'all felt the same way. That's why he went to Dallas.
Yeah, I think you're right on that. Yeah,
I think Klay feels the way I feel about the Lakers when you get to this last question. But we'll talk about that too. Dave, you familiar with the Splash Brothers and the breakup? Anything there?
No, you remember I punted last week when we talked.
Dave's waiting for the football questions. He's just sitting through the basketball questions.
Okay, now this one really kind of surprised me because we just talked about Klay getting $50 million for 3 years. Well, now we have the 76ers giving PG3, Paul George, $212 million for 4 years. Anybody get the difference there? 212 for 4, 50 for 3. I mean,
he's a better player than Klay is right now. He averages more points. His percentages are better. Plays better defense. He plays more games.
He averages more points. Well, go ahead. So,
if he's on the court. I mean, look at his history.
I mean, I think he played like 60, 70 games last year, right? Didn't he play 70 games
year,
last year?
Yeah, last year I think he did 60. Yeah, I think
a great year to play to 70. I'll tell you that.
Yeah. Yeah. All right, guys. I'm going to get my rant off now because I was reading today that Bronny is getting a guaranteed contract.
Here we go.
Do you know what I said? A guaranteed contract. And I think, oddly enough, I think with their first pick, they picked a guy from Pitt, I believe.
From Tennessee, Connect.
Okay, yeah, all right. But so the Lakers opt for great PR and selling merchandise instead of championships. Bronny wasn't even the 55th best player at USC, let alone the 55th best player in the country. Okay. So much for my rant, So Reggie, what do you think of the Lakers drafting Bronny James?
The same thing that I think a lot of people think. I mean, would he average 5, 2, and 2? And that's not a knock on the kid. Listen, he had a heart issue there. I think it was 5 points.
No, 1.5.
I thought that he averaged 5 points. He didn't even average 5. I thought he averaged 5, 2, and 2. I at least gave the kid 5 points. I mean,
I think the guy that didn't get drafted averaged 5 points.
If the guy's name was Bronny Johnson, we would not be talking about the kid. Period.
Of course not.
That's just period and point blank. Those numbers aren't getting you a discussion right now. In even in the G League, so it's interesting to see it happen.
1.5 points a game, a half an assist per game, and a half a rebound per game, and he's number 55 in the country.
No, we all know he's not that. I mean, it's I don't want to call it a complete clown show, but that's what it looks like to a certain degree. But it is what it is. What if the kid comes out and can play? I don't know. I got to see more of the kid. I think that's one of the issues. I didn't see a lot. I think he had an heart issue, and I'm not sure how many games he even played when he was at USC. Did he play like 25 games? I'm not sure he did.
Oh, no. He didn't play. No, not 25, no. Maybe 5, but not 25.
So if the kid played less than 10 games, I think that's more of the travesty is that you don't even have the link. Like there's no way you can square it. I mean, it just is what it is. This is my son. The Lakers drafted him. Keep LeBron happy. And hopefully the kid can play. Not necessarily rooting against him for that. It kind of is what it is.
Go ahead, Mr. Scott. Because we all know the Lakers ain't making the
playoffs. We live in a world now of travesties. I mean, we live in a world now where we look at the commander-in-chief just stands there.
Huh?
So you can't be almost surprised about anything now. I mean, here's a guy, as Reggie said, he's had the heart issues, he's had the health issues. He only played the year. I mean, he really has shown absolutely nothing. And then to have the nerve, to demand a guaranteed contract. They had a nerve to even fix your mouth to say that. A guaranteed. For what? I meed this is the world we live in now. It's, I used to read comic books, when my grandmother would take me, I used to have to go with her to carry the groceries on the bus. And I stopped by the newsstand and read the Superman comics. And the Superman would have a thing, one week it would be the Bizarro world, where everything was backwards. Everything. So even Superman was weak. He couldn't. It was bizarro world, and that's the world we live in now. I mean, we're in a bizarro world, and that's just one of the issues that I see from outside looking in. for LeBron. I mean, yeah, I'm sure he'd like to play with his son, but he's 40, and so he gets a 2-year contract for a bag. And so, I mean, what does Dr. J think? What do all these people
What
think?
does Dr. J think?
What do they think? You know what? Let me play till I was 40 something. Keep giving me big contracts. And why did I have to quit? You know, so. But this is the world we live in, and so that's my take on it.
That $104 million that the Lakers gave for those 2 years is nothing but tax on the rest of his enterprises. So and he's already got the write off for the school. So yeah, hey, I don't think the James family has to worry about that thing called generational wealth. I think they've achieved that. So, yeah, the boy, like they say, I got my own. So he's
maybe he'll be good. Maybe if he comes out here, maybe he might not suck. You never know. But he hasn't shown anything.
Don't forget, his little brother is better than he is. So at some time, his little brother,
that's true. That's true. That's the one with the glasses.
So then
LeBron's
not going to hang on. LeBron's not going to hang on until he's 50. So the other one comes in, so he can play with him.
Well, that's why he's going to put a team in Las Vegas. See, then he can have both his sons on the team, and
he can be a player coach, man. He can go the Bill Russell route.
He can
player
be the
coach,
owner,
man.
He can be the owner, the player coach, and have both his sons.
Go out there and give them 15 and 10. I mean, it'd be all right. He averaged 25 last year, I think. It was somewhere around there.
He's going to Vegas.
I'm not hating. I mean, people think that I hate. I'm not hating. I'm just making some statements. That's all. I mean, Reggie thinks, because I asked him about Kirk Cousins and he's avoiding that. He doesn't really want to talk about that. He just
I can't talk about that. I see this guy, man. I gotta see this guy go 4 games before I can at least talk. It should be a 4-game minimum before I have to discuss you. I should have to discuss you before you at least play 4 games.
Well,
and I at least witness that 4 games, and then I can come back and say, okay, I feel a little bit better about the money.
Okay, we're going to set that we're going to set a 4-game match, and we're going to base the ratings on strength of schedule also. Okay.
Okay.
All right. So let's talk.
Why can't we talk about it? Why does it have to be deferred? Why is this difference? Why does it have to be deferred? I mean,
he's coming off that injury, man. I don't know, man.
Number one, it has to be deferred because we never know when you're going to show up. So we have to have a date that you're going to show up. And
I try to keep mine a little bit more regular, at least every 2 weeks here, guys. I'm gonna give you at least a couple of months. I mean, I'll try to at least do that,
Well, I'm an executive. I mean, I'm a president, and so I mean, you should be glad that I'm here when I'm here. So,
he's glad I'm here now, is what he's saying.
James, you have to have your people talk to Anthony's people.
There you go. Yeah. And then we have to talk to Reggie's people, and Demetrius's people, and see maybe we can get a double header in here. I'm sure Mr. Scott could take it from but we'll see. All right, let's talk about a little college football here. Quarterback Trevor Lawrence and running back Travis Etienne are named a top 10 college playmaking duo of all time. They're named in one of the top 10. I'm gonna let the old heads go first here. Mr. Scott, can you think of a duo that you might put ahead of Etienne and Lawrence?
Oh, as far as quarterback, running back,
what it said was a playmaking duo. Now, to me, that qualifies Montana and Rice. That playmaking duo.
Defenses make plays too.
Yeah. So I'm that's what I'm saying. Do you have somebody that you would put in the top 10 over Travis and Trevor? In your top 10,
of course, Montana and Rice.
No. But this is college. So you
college
have to go back.
teammates. College
Your
teammates.
college teammates.
College. I can't come up with one.
Who was what's his name? Who was Reggie Bush's quarterback?
Carson Palmer, right?
Yeah, so I mean,
When he was you mean when he was at USC?
Yeah.
Yeah, USC.
Yeah.
Matt Leinart. Matt Leinart. Bill is in the queue, and Bill has been texting, I think, from the queue here, by the way.
I haven't seen. Where is Bill? Oh, there's Mr. Carroll. Oh man, hey. So
and we got like Sue's Corner.
Yeah,
we got all kinds of stuff going on here.
I tell you guys,
another one that's been ducking me for. Mr. Analytics.
I tell you guys,
Bill's been screaming from the chat box here. I see Bill like having a whole conversation over here in the comment section.
But I mean, if it's any two teammates, how about we can go back to back-to-back Heisman Trophy winners? We talked about USC had back-to-back with Leinart and Bush, but Army, right, with Mr. Inside and Mr. Outside, Glenn Davis and Doc Blanchard. If we're talking about teammates at the collegiate level, there's the Pony Express, Eric Dickerson and Craig James. There've been a bunch. Charlie Ward and Peter Warwick. I mean, there's a long list of really tremendous playmaking duos I could give you. If you just talk,
let's see if Dave's got a couple. You got a couple there, Dave?
Yeah, I got a couple. I'll go PA. Franco Harris and Lydell Mitchell. And Lydell Mitchell was the big star coming out. And Franco was drafted ahead of him because of his size.
Right. Franco was
that's a good one. And then the other one from Pitt, I follow both, but I'm looking at, I'll take this a different way. How about an offensive line with two hogs, Mark May and Russ Grimm?
Yep. At Pitt.
Those two guys played together. Pitt they went 2 seasons, only lost 2 games. Russ Grimm started out as a linebacker. And the problem was you had Hugh Green on this team. You had Ricky Jackson on this team.
Man.
And so he said, maybe let me try being on the offensive line. He shifted to center. So he and Mark May were together for 2 or 3 seasons at Pitt. And then Jimbo Covert came in right behind him. But I kind of like that offensive line, because then Mark May and Russ Grimm went on to be 2 of the 5 linemen of the Redskins' famous Hogs.
Reggie, you got one for us or 2?
I am not an objective Bama fan. I'm going to choose the team. Any 2 players on Bama's team the last 10 years is what I'm going to say. Whether you want to take Jalen and Surtain or whoever you want to choose in there. But I think with a question like that, it's I think one of the things that Bill kind of touched on and Dave was alluding to too is like, it's one of those things where there's so many more. There's so many more. Like there's so many more that it's hard to even think of them because there's so many more than the 2 that are presented here. So it's kind of like they're not a bad duo, and that Clemson run, can't be denied. That was a real run. It's a legit run. But I mean, this is kind of like a mid duo for me. I think there's a lot of players that are better.
I don't know if they played in college together, but at Ohio State, but the Cleveland Browns, Otto Graham and Marion Motley.
Yeah, well, Motley went to an HBCU because so no, he and Otto did not play together.
Quickly put to rest by Bill there. Absolutely not.
Yeah. Come on, Bill knows his first cousin, Mr. Scott. So you can't come in here with none of that,
Right. The speculation.
We got our own fact check right here, so don't even try. Okay. So let's see, is there anything else here? We didn't get Boa, but I really want to know what's going to happen to the Pac-2. I think that's Bill. You got any speculation about the Pac-2?
Oh, the Pac-2. Yeah. I'm buying my Pac-2 gear right now, guys. It's a great stocking stuffer. I was gonna throw out one more, but I guess we won't. When I first really started following college football, Jim Plunkett won the Heisman Trophy, and his favorite receiver was a kid named Randy Bataha, and they were drafted together by the then very terrible New England Patriots, mainly just because Bataha had been a teammate of Plunkett's. He was born 40-something years too early. He was not very fast and small and tough and white. But if he come to the Patriots 50-something years later, he could have been Wes Welker. Unfortunately, the slot receiver had not really emerged as a thing yet in Randy Bataha's career, but they were terrific in college. But yeah, the Pac-2, ironically, are trying. They have essentially a grace period in their contract that they've signed with all the various TV networks, but they're not going to let it roll again next year. They're going to have to do something, or their various TV partners are going to, say, "Hey, remember that money we gave you? I'm going to need some of that back." So my contention still is that they're going to go around basically seeing anybody who might want to leave the Mountain West.
Mountain West, yeah.
Also maybe even some teams from the Big 12 that feel unloved or not sufficiently recognized. Like they're going to go knocking on some doors and ringing some some bells. I absolutely know. We just talked about Las Vegas as a marketplace. I promise you, there have been you up texts between the Pac-2 and UNLV. I bet everything all of us own that there have been some of those texts have gone back and forth. So yeah, there's some things going on behind the scenes, and they don't want to give back the money. This may come as a shock to you, but they do not want to give back the money.
No.
So because of that, they're going to try to patch something together. That's what I've been able to suss from my conversations with people who covered the Pac-2, and because I understand how contracts work.
Okay, all right. Dave, it seems like Sean Payton is going to ride with Bo Nix. What's your thoughts there, Dave?
Well, when your alternative is Zach Wilson or Jarrett Stidham,
yeah, exactly. I'm riding with a quarterback, basically what he just said.
I mean, those guys between them have more interceptions than touchdown passes. So why not go right to the rookie?
Okay, all right. Bill, the Bills entered the season with a serious questions at wide receiver and running back.
Yep.
Does the Bills quarterback Josh Allen have enough supporting cast for the Bills to win the AFC East? Just the East.
The AFC East, yes. The East, yes. They win the AFC East, yes. The problem will not be winning the AFC East, my friend. The problem will come after that.
Yeah, most definitely afterwards.
The problems will go, but I project them to be still about, what's the over under 11.5? Probably the betting is probably 11.5. I still might take the over. I think they're probably about a 12-5 team. The Jets will probably get one from them. They'll sweep everybody else, I'm guessing. Well, maybe they might split with Miami. I have to look at the schedule, but the Patriots are going to be contending for the first overall pick again next year. And yeah, I mean, that's no offense to the AFC East, but that's not the toughest division to win exactly.
No.
So yes, I still think they're the kings of the East. I just worry about what happens when they have to play teams from other places in the playoffs.
Yeah. I forget who the AFCs. I forget who they play in the NFC. Who their counterparts are, but we'll see. Mr. Scott, this is a good question for you because I know how much you love analytics. And ESPN analytics say that they're not so high on the Bears' improvements or their playoff chances. Mr. Scott, do you believe the pundits who are raving about the Bears and Caleb Williams and all of that? Or do you believe the numbers?
Well, as far as this division, I think it's wide open. I mean, I think if Caleb Williams is actually good, I mean, come on, he's the number one overall pick. If he actually comes in and plays like that and comes in, I mean, the Bears were okay with the quarterback they had, if you ask me. And then if they had built around him, so I think this division, though, the thing is, it's up in the air. I mean, I know Demetrius, the Lions, it's a done deal. It's just, yeah, their coach blew it last year. The Lions are good. Now, I'm not, these are not the old Lions. I give that. But I also think the Vikings are good. I also think their draft choices. I'm a little worried about the quarterback situation with the Vikings. I don't think they want to play the young guy, and I think they want to play Sam Darnold, and we'll see how that goes. But Justin Jefferson must have approved it because he signed, so he must have seen something that thinks that this is a good deal.
He saw that money. What he
He
saw
the
that contract. That's what he saw.
He saw his bank statement. That's what he saw.
Saw those dollar signs. He said, "I'll sign that."
I think the division is wide open. And I'm worried about the Bears. The Packers are good. So in this division, I think it's really wide open. It's going to be very competitive. And at the end of the day, I think the Vikings are going to do it. Where's Demetrius? Where is he now? See, this is what I'm saying. You get these people and they run, they hide, they duck. They don't really want to. So, I mean, but that's my statement. Okay. The Central Division is going to be very, very competitive.
All right. Okay. Reggie, the Jaguars owner, Shane Khan, said that the Jaguars' 1-5 finish was an organizational failure. Do you agree with them, Reggie?
Well, I'm going to get out here after that. After this question, he didn't exactly step out here on the limb.
I got one more for you before you leave. So go ahead with this one.
He didn't exactly step out here on a limb, saying that a 1-5 finish is an organization failure. I mean, is that like breaking news? I mean, what? Of course, it's an organization failure. You finished 1-5. Like, he didn't become this rich. I mean, of course, I can't disagree with that statement. Let's just say that. Can't disagree with that.
All right. Well, now before you go, Reggie, could the Falcons' aggressive pursuit of upgrading the quarterback room backfire on their playoff chances?
I don't think so, because I don't know if our playoff chances were great to begin with. I mean, we might as well. We're a team that has some great pieces and skill players, but until we put it all together, we haven't proved that we deserve anything. Like, we need to go out there and win games. I mean, in end of the day. So I don't know if it hurt our playoff chances. Maybe a game or two here and there. I'm not sure if we would have took this player over that player. But until we see all these pieces fit on the field, I don't really think that we could really just try to guess that. I'm going to say that. Let me say no, because I don't think that we were a playoff team to begin with. I don't think that we were. I mean, maybe we'll get a couple wins, and people are saying because our division sucks, maybe because of that, because the NFC South is so horrible. Everybody's a playoff contender here. So if you want to say that, okay, I'll say that. But just for us to get bounced later, I mean, if you're trying to improve your team, you're not just going against the teams in your division. You're going against the teams in your conference and who the best teams are at the top of your conference. Like, praying that you get out of your division just so you get bounced by somebody else later. I mean, maybe it keeps some general managers' jobs. Maybe some people feel better about themselves. But I don't think we heard anything significantly by drafting another quarterback. The $50 million with Kurt is gonna that makes me sweat right there. I need to see. We need at least get 2 years. We need 2 years out of him, bro. We need 2 years.
100
yeah, we got 50 a year.
Would you get him?
So in other words, you're endorsing the Kirk Cousins.
The Falcons endorsed him with 100
endorsing him.
times. It seems like the Falcons have endorsed him, so I kind of have to. If he's healthy, I do trust him. But at the end of the day, I mean, we gave him the $100 million at least for the first 2. There's an expectation that he's going to be here to perform for at least the first 2 years, and I'm hoping that that's what happens.
Wow, I'm glad to hear you're endorsing that. You know, put this on your tape, JK3. Put this on.
Listen, I'm just going to say that I'm cautiously optimistic. Mr. Cousins comes out here and then gives us a winning season for the next couple seasons, and then the other kid comes riding in here. He does his thing, and then we're off to the races for the next 10 years. That's perfect picture for me.
We'll have to have some clips of the Sports Crib hot takes.
Reggie, give us your final thoughts before you get out of here.
I'm hoping that we get. I'm wondering if we get basketball, because I've been actually these WNBA games, guys, don't suck. Like, I watched a few of them, and I gotta say, they've been bad games. They've been bad games. So I find
join us.
Actually hoping that we get some, because I'm thinking like for the summer, are they going to be out for the summer because of the Olympics? It's interesting to see how that all fits, but I think we'll looking forward to some great basketball through Olympic basketball and then through WNBA basketball to take me into the NBA season. So check out the WNBA if you have not been watching. People, it's not that bad.
Yes. Next Wednesday, my friend told me, I used to be at a band, The Sounds of Blackness, and I happened to be over at their house for a picnic. And one of the singers, Ginger Commodore, is singing the anthem at the game for the girls basketball with Caitlin Clark.
Oh, it's gonna be packed.
Yes. And I said, well, can't you get me a ticket since I'm a friend? Can't you get, but the tickets are, I'm trying to see about getting a ticket, but yeah, she's gonna sing at the Lynx game. She's gonna sing the anthem at that game next Wednesday.
Mr. Scott, I thought all you had to do was show up, Mr. Scott. I didn't know you needed a ticket.
Well, that's what I told her. I said, I'm your friend. Can't you get me in? Can I just, help you in, be in security or something? So
you carry the keyboard or something. Yeah. Shoot. That's how I used to get to my little brother's concert. I carried the keyboard and whatever. But anyway, okay, so let's go on here. Bill, I got one for you too. Let me see here. Where's my board at? Bill, the Packers, their newly acquired running back, Mr. Josh Jacobs, is already a leader in the locker room. Jacobs says that with Jordan Love, the team's potential is limitless. So, Bill, is this real talk or wishful thinking?
It's real talk if their defense plays well in good games and big games, right? Their defense took a step back a little bit last year. I had projected, based on, I knew that their offense would continue to improve. I thought their defense would at least hold steady and possibly even improve. Their offense improved and their DVOA on defense decreased. So they need to get more consistent pass rush. They still have a very good secondary, one of the better secondaries in the NFL, but their pass rush and their run fits on defense both were worse last year than the year before. They gave up more long runs, more runs of 12 yards or more by about 17% than they did the year before. And their pressure rate on dropbacks went down almost 20%. So they were an easier team to score on last year than they were the year before. And equally as important, an easier team to put up long drives against. You don't want to give up points, but you also don't want to have teams put together long drives, right? Those 11, 12, 13 play, 14 play drives, even if a team only comes away with 3 points, wears against your defense, it disrupts your offensive rhythm. So they need to get more 3-and-outs this year. And like I said, a consistent pass rush. If they can do those two things, they could be a potential Super Bowl contender. That is a really, really good, young, and fairly inexpensive offense, right? That's what you want. If you have a good, young, inexpensive offense, now you can get active and, maybe even prior to the trade deadline, make a move if they're not getting what they need to get out of the pass rush. Maybe make a move for, some disgruntled pass rusher who think he's underpaid or something like that. Those guys usually make it known through, back channels that they're willing to, the old come get me or talk to, during the post game when the guys are talking and shaking hands or whatever. It's like, yeah, I hate it here. Talk to your coach, talk to your GM. I mean, that's not all they talk about, but yeah, that's part of
What do you think, Dave? Wishful thinking by Jacoby or the real talk?
come get me.
On Love? Well, I mean,
on the Packers,
on the Packers as a whole, because my reaction is when you're saying his potential is limitless, he's decent, but he's not a GOAT. He's a good quarterback, but I'm not gonna say he's going to be winning multiple Super Bowls. So with that said, I mean, the difficulty, we were talking about the AFC East. I think that the NFC North is a bit more competitive. I mean, you got the Lions, you got the Vikings. Now the Bears, I'm not sold on those guys, but I think that the Packers are going to be nipping at the heels of. I would put the Vikings and the Lions at the top of that division, and it's more competitive. And the Packers will be in there, but they're going to have a tough time winning it.
Mr. Scott, seems like you have an ally here. What do you think about these Packers? Are they real, or is this just wishful thinking by the new running back? What he's
he's an ally until we talk about Pittsburgh. I mean, and that's until we talk about that, then it just all falls apart. But I think he made some good points. I mean, I think the Packers and Love, I think Josh Jacobs, it's a very competitive division. That's what I said earlier, with the Lions, the Vikings. And I really think the Bears can surprise. I really do. I really want to see how this quarterback's going to do. I'm not really, painting your nails. I mean, I'm trying to be objective. What I want to do is I'm not, being against people for things that they do that I don't really do. So, good division. But I think the Vikings with their defense, with Flores on that defense, and I think they're hiding this quarterback, that number one pick. I wouldn't be surprised if he plays before the year is out. We'll just kind of see how this plays out. It's going to be very interesting.
Okay, all right.
Peyton Manning or Ryan Leaf?
There you go.
See, I just told you that, didn't I? That's just what I said. That is.
So, Bill, I'm going to go back to a question for you here because I want to know what you think about the Bills. Do you think that the Bills not the Bills, the Bears and the analytics being low on their improvements and playoff chances? Do you think that the pundits who rave about the Bears are right, or do you think the numbers are right?
Well, I mean, it all depends on what
I know you know the analytics here.
It all depends on what your expectations are. Are they going to be improved? I would say almost certainly they'll be a better team. But you are starting a rookie quarterback. He's going to make rookie mistakes. They had, as was pointed out earlier, an extremely talented quarterback. with some of the same strengths and weaknesses as the one they just brought in, only a bigger guy, right? A guy who was sort of miniature Cam Newton. And just as he was beginning to figure it out, they moved on from him. So you're going to take a step back a little bit, and they're going to have to simplify some things. He came from a very, very spread offense. You know, all the quarterbacks that we've seen come out of that system from, Baker Mayfield and Kyler Murray. All of the guys that have come out of that have had some success in the NFL, but also have struggled at various points. Essentially, if your pre-snap read holds post-snap, those guys are going to gut you, right? Because they come from an offense that's really built around pre-snap read. They're all athletic. Well, Reed's somewhat athletic in the case of Baker, and in the case of everyone else that come out of that, very athletic. And all those guys can throw the ball. None of those guys have bad arms. Baker's probably slightly above average strong arm, partially because of his great baseball background, and then obviously Caleb has a not Mahomes level, but a very much above average arm. So they all can hurt you with their feet. Well, in the case of two of them, really hurt you, and throw the ball. And Hurts to some extent. He only spent 1 year with in the system at Oklahoma, but still, you saw some of those strengths and weaknesses. Where they all have struggled is when you change the picture on them post-snap. And how long will it take him to put it together? Baker, it finally came together, right? He's able now, even when you late disguise things like safety rotation, jumping from cover 2 or cover 4 into cover 6, going to quarter half, or looking like you're in cover 3, like a cover 3 trap, and then jumping into straight man-to-man post-snap. He's able to see those things and read those things out, and showed everyone that he wasn't a bust, right? He's a guy that took a little while to put it together, but he's not a bust. I think it'll be somewhat similar with Caleb. He's more talented than Baker, but he's going to struggle at times. He's going to make rookie mistakes. To me, their season is about how good is their running game going to be, how good the offensive line's going to be, and how good is their defense going to be. If you put all of it on any rookie quarterback, you're going to struggle. If you put all the burden, most of the burden, even on any rookie quarterback, you're going to struggle mightily. If they take a lot of that burden off of him, if they keep games close, if their defense plays extremely well, if they run the ball well, they have a chance to be a contender. I still think they're about a 7-10, maybe 8-9 team.
Okay. Dave, what do you think about the Bears?
Well, I think that they're in the caboose in that division right now, and I'm not sold on the quarterback. I have to see, what he does. Has he signed his contract yet?
Caleb?
Yeah.
I think he did.
Okay.
Sure he did. Yeah.
But we'll see. I mean, hopefully he'll prove me wrong. I'm not putting my money on him, and but we'll see. And I think the Bears' season is riding on that young quarterback's shoulders. Because if he doesn't produce, then what?
I'm stacking a lot of insulin money on the under. Yeah. But we'll see. I'm going to stick with you, Dave. The Eagles' slide last season was correlated directly with the poor pass defense. Is the Eagles' restocked secondary the missing piece to them returning to Super Bowl contention, Dave?
Well, they're riding on 2 draft picks, their first and second draft pick, Quinlan Mitchell and Cooper DeJean. And then a third guy that they brought in, Isaiah Rodgers, that's coming back from a year suspension for gambling. So if you're riding on that, because you got to figure their most accomplished defensive back probably is Darius Slay. He's going to be 33. Then you have James Bradbury, who gave up 11 touchdowns. And so really you got CJ Gardner-Johnson, but man, I don't know. Maybe 2 seasons from now, if these young rookies that they picked really produce and are able to adapt to the speed of the NFL, they might have a pretty good secondary. But I see quarterbacks trying to test offensive coordinators trying to test that secondary in 2024.
Bill, is it going to be the same old song with the Eagles secondary?
Well, it'll be a different song because they're going to play a lot of rookies this year, and they didn't last year. They were a older secondary, and they got much younger. I think you're going to see at least one of those rookies is going to play close to 50% of the snaps this season. And, obviously the training camp will let us know which one, and preseason will let us know which one. But even whichever one isn't a starter or which one isn't a, virtual starter is going to play a lot too. They're going to get younger. And, we live in a salary cap era. That's something every team has to do at a certain point at some positions. Their window is still open, but they need a lot of young players. They've moved on from some guys who were, quite possibly future Hall of Famers recently. And they need those guys who've replaced them. They need, the person who's stepping in for Fletcher Cox to play, maybe not quite like Fletcher Cox, but can you be 80% of Fletcher Cox? Can Cam Jurgens be 80% of Jason Kelce, right? And those are legitimate questions to ask because that is a lot to ask of a rookie. So yes, a lot will have to go right for them. They draft well. They haven't had many misses, some, but obviously, Jalen Reagor and a few others, but mostly they've done very well in terms of drafting. So can they continue that streak of getting a lot of production from the players they've drafted? If so, they still have a chance to win the NFC East. But if they struggle out of the box early, which may happen, and those rookies, as rookies often do, seem, like it's going a little too fast for them, seem a little overwhelmed, that's how you give up a couple of early losses early in the season, and then you're playing catch up the rest of the season. And that maybe makes you a wild card team, right? Instead of a team that has a chance to win the division.
Mr. Scott, who's the best team in Texas? The Cowboys or the Texans?
Boy, that's a very good question. The Cowboys could be if Dak, and there's been just a lot of scuttlebutt about Dak getting paid. I think his contract might be up, or there's some talk about him ending up being the highest paid player in the league at some point.
Yeah.
And
$60 million.
And how that happens when you haven't won the Super Bowl, you haven't won the big thing, but these these people are getting the big bag. I like Houston. I mean, I like their young team. I like the additions that they've made. And I actually think they're going to have a better record than the Cowboys. I think the Cowboys, this is Dak said. I mean, he's got to really show what he's got here. And I'm not sure on their sign. Did they sign CD Lamb?
We're going to talk about who they haven't signed yet. That's
so that's the big thing with them. So as it stands right now, I like Houston. I really do. I like the Houston team.
Okay. Well, I'll take you to the second part now, since you already opened up the bag. Dan Orlovsky says that the Cowboys are making a huge mistake by having unsettled contracts with Dak, CD, and Micah Parsons. Do you agree, Mr. Scott? That
how do you pay everybody? I mean, I that's the thing. I don't really see how you pay everybody. I mean, I think Dak is the key. I mean, if they really think he's the guy, and he's been up and down. He had an injury, he had an injury that kind of set him back for a while. Is he that good? Is he Boy, I just question it. And if they don't do him, then what do they do with CeeDee Lamb? And there's just a lot of moving parts on that thing. And
if you take Micah Parsons off that defense, what do you have?
yeah, then that's a big problem. So boy, I think Dak, though, that's the one they have to really decide what they want to do. Is he going to be there, or is he going to play this out and move on? Boy, as far as the best team in Texas, I'm going with Houston.
Yeah. Dave, you can answer this in any order you want. Do you want to talk about the Cowboys unsigned Dak and CD and Parsons, or do you want to talk about who's the best team in Texas?
Yeah, I think the huge mistake is if they don't get deals done with all those players, because there's some things that they can do with the salary cap, such as they negotiate a contract, but then they make a big portion of that a bonus, so that it becomes prorated, and then they're just kicking the can down the road. But, eventually it's going to catch up to them. But the question I would have is if they're not signed going into, to me, they have until training camp starts. Now, once training camp starts, what are these players that are not signed going to do? Because all of a sudden they're putting themselves at risk. And because then if they get hurt and they don't have a contract, that's not good. So are they going to hold out? Or are they going to, do like a hold in, where they show up but they don't practice? So that could impact the team. So they have until training camp to figure something out, and that's coming up in the next few weeks. In terms of the best team, I'm with Anthony. I've been with Anthony for most of tonight. I like the Texans more than the Cowboys. Now, the thing that the Cowboys have going for them is they got a pretty, couple weak teams in the Redskins and the Giants, and that kind of gives them like a little bump. But in terms of when you look at what the Cowboys are facing with signing these players, I really liked Houston all last season. I mean, they just surprised me right from the beginning, and I'm gonna stick with them with their young coach and their young quarterback.
Bill, I know you know the numbers here. Can the Cowboys sign all three of these guys? I asked the question
Well, I mean,
a couple of weeks ago. Will
the
Dak
short answer is
first $60 million quarterback?
well, the short answer is no, unless guys are about to do a bunch of hometown discounts. They can probably sign two of them long term and franchise one of them, and kick the can, as was said, down the road. See if Dak's willing to maybe renegotiate or move money, sign his original deal, so that the agent can, pat himself on the back for having the highest paid player in league history, at least for that moment. And then once that's done, say, okay, everyone got everyone got credit. Now I need you to move this to make this a workout bonus. I need you to move this over here and make it a roster bonus. I mean, if Dak's willing to have that, they might be able to do it with all three. But if everybody wants to get paid like they're a top 2 or 3 player at their position, which at least two of them have an argument to say that they are, and one of them more like top 7 or 8, but each of them has a chance to be the highest paid player at their position. And if they end up all three being the highest paid player at their position, then the answer is no. Right? I mean, if you sink 37.5% of your cap in 3 players, what's going to happen is you end up either cutting almost all the other veterans on the team, where the ones at least who don't have a lot of guaranteed money for them, so you don't take a massive dead cap hit. I mean, we saw what the the Saints did for so many years, right? The Saints, Kai Harley, shout out to Kai Harley. People talk about Mickey Loomis, but the actual person responsible for all that shell game they did with the cap for about 4 years is actually a man named Kai Harley, a black man who hopefully gets to be a GM somewhere in the NFL city. And he's the one who actually, he didn't invent it, but he perfected it. The old, prorated bonus shell game that was just discussed a second ago that they kept doing with Drew Brees and others. But even for them, eventually, right, you can't dine and dash. The bill does come due, and they had to blow the team up.
Yeah. Look at the Saints now.
That's the point I was making. That the bill eventually comes due. And Dallas is not far from being in that situation. Even if they pay 2 out of the 3 at the very, very top of the market, and let one of them, franchise them for a year and then, or transition tag another team can come scoop them. But something, short term, because you can't literally pay 3 players at the very, very, very top of the market. For long, at least, you can't. I'll put it that way. You might even do it for a year, but then what happens the next year? You literally have to sign your rookies, and that money, all the, once again, as we talked about before, that signing bonus money literally Rob, Peter, pay Paul, whatever. This is a hard cap league. You can't just pay a luxury tax. You can't just, whatever. No, you got a certain amount of money has to be in certain accounts at certain dates. June 1st, June whatever. These things have to happen. So the short answer is no. The long answer is all that stuff I just said.
So who's the best team in Texas, the Cowboys or the Texans?
Texans. What are we talking about?
Okay. Well, now we come to the part of the show that Anthony always hates, because Dave is going to talk about our Steelers. We're not going to talk about Mr. Tomlin tonight. I know that that's something that Mr. Scott always looks forward to, our conversations about Mike Tomlin. But
great Patriot, wonderful Patriot. Yeah, great. He's a great Patriot. Yeah.
But tonight, Dave, we're going to talk about the Steelers DB, and the DB tweaks. Are they equal to a big year for Mika Fitzpatrick? Second, what's this about Russell Wilson boxing? Let's see. Third, are the Steelers desperate enough to reunite with Juju? And fourth, the Steelers land in the top 10 of Pro Football Focus's defensive line rankings. Want to kind of explain all that to me, Dave?
Yeah, I'll try to take these in order. The first, with Minka, what the Steelers have been forced to do is to bring him up into the box, and also to kind of be a strong safety. He's had to make a lot of tackles the last few years. Now, what that does is that brings him up to the line of scrimmage so that he can't play center field back there and try to poach some passes. Now, the Steelers acquired Deshaun Elliott at safety, so a lot depends on how he performs. And then number 2, another impact there is they signed Cam Sutton, which was kind of controversial. But if Cam Sutton proves that he hasn't lost a lick, he was a very he could play a lot of different positions, and in particular the slot. And with having him there, along with a couple other young guys, Ryan Watts and Beanie Bishop maybe, all of a sudden, if Deshaun Elliott proves his worth, well, now Minka might be able to be that free-ranging safety and maybe pick up a couple interceptions. So I think that's what the Steelers are trying to do, is they're trying to free him up. Russell Wilson, my comment on that, great cardio. I had a trainer, actually, it was my best friend's brother, who was once on a show called American Gladiator. He was in that competition. But he was also a world-class rugby player, but he became a physical trainer. Well, he took me through some workouts, and one of the toughest was striking, was punching. And I tell you what, that gasses you. Especially if you're going against the heavy bag or even the jabs and stuff like that. It's a great cardio workout. And hey, if he's hitting something hard, good. He's getting his body in condition. So I'm great with it. And maybe he'll take on Le'Veon Bell one of these days. In terms of Juju is still on the Patriots roster, from what I understand. So I don't know. One, they can't mess around with them because then they would be guilty of tampering. But even if he was released outright, the thing is Juju has been, suffering some injuries. The Patriots put him on injured reserve at the end of the year. He's been having some knee problems. I think Juju's time in Pittsburgh is done. I don't. If he became available, I don't see the Steelers really going after him. And then with the Pro Football Focus, I hate their grading system. Because their grades a lot of times don't match what I'm seeing on TV. So I like the idea. I think it's really good, and it's a good way to compare. Get a relative comparison. But sometimes I quibble with some of their grades. But the Pittsburgh defensive line is an interesting mix of veterans and young guys. You got Cam Hayward, 35. You got Larry Ogunjobi and Montravius Adams that are pushing 30, but they're getting worn out. But then you got Keanu Benton, and then you got Isaiah Loudermilk and DeMarvin Leal. Braden Fajoko's in there and then Dean Lowry, who they acquired this year. I see it as I don't see it as a top 10 defensive line. I just honestly don't. I mean, Cam Hayward can still play. It can be a good line, maybe somewhere in the middle, but they're still in development. They're starting to go through a transition. So I don't agree with the top 10 analysis. Although, in order for Pittsburgh to succeed this year, they're going to need to have a top 10 defense overall, and so they're going to have to get a lot out of the outside linebackers, the inside linebackers, and the secondary.
I put them in the top 15, but I thought the top 10 was stretching. That's
agreed.
It's great to see people are really coming back to reality. I mean, it's great to hear that people are not being so euphoric. And
we're hoping you come down there on the Vikings sooner or later, but that's
I'll bring you my other pair of glasses where I see so clearly next week, Anthony. I don't have them here with me, but I'll have them next week for you.
Bill, will the Seahawks improved line help quarterback Geno Smith? And then give us your final thoughts.
And the short answer is yes. The slightly longer answer is I think they will get more production from the running game. They still wanted to be a team that really ran the ball last year, and they struggled mightily to run the ball at times last year. Some of it due to offense. In fact, much of it due to offensive line play. They also had a lot of injuries. Running back Chris Carson ended up medically retiring. They just had issues across the board there. If their offensive line,
Sharper did me exactly no good as a running back in fantasy football, but that's another case. But go ahead.
So if their offensive line is even somewhat improved, doesn't need to be a dramatic improvement, even somewhat improved, that will help Geno Smith. Geno Smith is a very good. You hear the term rhythm passer a lot, and it's sort of like a sneak diss, a backhanded compliment. what they mean is it's someone that can within the initial design of the offense and the play that's called, but is it going to create outside of that? I feel like it's somewhat unfair because I have seen him create occasionally outside the pocket and make things happen, but he prefers, and frankly, the team prefers to have the initial play that's called work, and I think that will happen at a slightly higher rate. I have other concerns about the Seahawks, but I do believe their offensive line will be improved.
Final thoughts.
Oh, right. We're at the end already. Okay. Obviously, tomorrow is indeed the 4th of July, but my final thoughts are unfortunately rather somber final thoughts. I got word earlier today that a very, very good friend of mine, and if you are a person that prays, please pray for him. It looks like he's about to make his transition to whatever lies beyond. I've known him since about 1995 or 6, maybe. He was working for another theater company that I was in the cast of a musical there, and I talked to him about the company that I had started. He eventually came over to us and worked with us for well over a decade, and I got to see him fall in love and get married, and unfortunately that marriage didn't end up lasting long term, but saw him have a son with his wife, who's now a young adult, I believe. And unfortunately, my friend is now completely dependent upon a breathing tube, and they're apparently going to take him off life support tomorrow. So that's where my thoughts are. My thoughts are with my friend who, certainly had a good life, but sad long one, and his family. So that is my final thought. Unfortunately, I wish I had happier news to report, but I do not.
Godspeed.
Yeah, right on.
Thank you.
Mr. Scott, your final thoughts. What do you want to give us an over-under for how many touchdown passes Jefferson's going to catch?
I'm really glad Bill's here because I want to get his analytics on this. Since this debate, I have been in a lot of spirited conversations with people, and Bill, what does the analytics say? What does the analytics say about this? I mean, is that something that the analytics
are about drafting a first-round quarterback after you pay a quarterback you have that much money? Is that what you're asking me? I'll put it this way: it's risky. If it works, you look like a genius. But it's like saying hit me when you have 18 showing, right? If it works, you're a genius. If it works, if you get a 3 dropped on your head, people are like, wow, what an amazing card player. If it's a 7, people think you're an idiot. They went out after a talented but older quarterback with a severe injury history of his own, right? A guy who had 3 season-ending injuries while he was in college, 2 at Indiana. And there are concerns. He's going to turn 25 before this season is out. There's only been a handful of quarterbacks who started their rookie seasons as old as him who even ended up being long-term starters, let alone stars. So there's a lot of scary numbers there. And then you have a 35-year-old who will turn 36 before the season's out, coming back from a severe Achilles tear. So all those things are scary. All of those things give you reason for pause. But if it works, you're a genius. If paying an old quarterback coming back off an Achilles works, you're a genius. In the case of Cousins, who's now in Atlanta, they'll look like a genius if he ends up being great. If Michael Penix ends up being great, they'll look a genius. JJ McCarthy, I've seen him play in person, right? The kids from LaGrange Park, Illinois, about a 35-minute drive from my home. Got to see him play against Bolingbrook, where my friend Giroux, shout out to my friend Giroux, is a volunteer defensive coach. Got to see him play against Rolling Meadows High, which is Jimmy Garoppolo's old stomping grounds. He's not ready. He's very, very young. They don't want to play him right away. The good news is that he's young, right? A lot can still happen. He's barely legal to drink. One of the youngest players in the draft. I think he was the 7th or 8th youngest player in the entire draft. So there's lots of like. But he's used to being in a run-heavy offense. He wasn't asked to really shoulder the load except for a handful of games in his entire collegiate career. So,
well, that sounds like Tom Brady.
Well,
in Michigan, I watched Tom Brady play against the Gophers. I watched that. Tom Brady was nothing.
Brady was a 5-year guy. Brady fought for it. Now, he was on the bench for quite a while because he got beaten up. A long list of guys beat him out, right? Scott Dreisbach at one point.
And he was on the bench with New England. He was on the bench there.
Well, yeah, he wasn't even active his first season there, but he was never even activated. But when he first gets there, Greasy, and of course, Greasy takes him to the Rose Bowl. So Greasy's the guy when he first gets there. But he assumes that he's going to climb the depth chart, but he gets pushed down at first. And then the whole Drew Henson debacle until finally, 6 games into the season, he has the come to Jesus talk with Lloyd Carr, and Carr puts an end to the Drew Henson experiment at that point. But it's a different story. He was not a guy everybody saw coming. J.J. McCarthy was terrific here. Then he transfers his last year to IMG and is talked about as one of the top, high school quarterbacks in the country. Tom Brady was a guy that when he was at Sarah, guys said he picked the wrong sport. Said, oh, yeah, you should definitely play baseball in college, Tom, not football. So it's a little different story there. Everyone saw J.J. McCarthy coming.
Yeah. If J.J. McCarthy wins 2 Super Bowls,
so it all comes down to, can you wait on him? If you can wait on him, I think he becomes something. If you throw him out there too early, it might stunt his growth because there's so much he hasn't seen.
I've got to, but my last just thought is on our great president. I mean, I think that the game is over, and I mean, I think there has to be a plan B. And I don't know what that plan B is. I don't know if anybody knows what that plan B is, but something has to happen. You just can't have a comatose type person. I mean, the wife now, she's playing the Nancy Reagan role. She's getting up there. She's talking. She's doing all of come on. Game over. Game over. We have to figure this thing out. This affects everybody. And so I don't know what the rest of you think. And I know this is not a political thing. And everybody knows that I'm not political. Everybody knows that I don't really get into witch hunts and hoaxes and all of those kind of things. But something has to give. This is not working. We have a person here that cannot, just standing there like he didn't know where he was. What more do we need to see? What more do we need to see? Well, go ahead and support it. That's fine. I don't have any more to say about it.
Well, sometimes you come on and do the same thing, but when you can't get that Vikings thing together, but hey, but like you said, this is not a political show, but I do have a show that you can come on, though, Mr. Scott, if you want to talk politics. You know it. So, Dave, your final thoughts.
Yeah, I'll give you a twofer. I'll give you Sue's Corner and my final thoughts.
I forgot all about Sue's Corner. Yes, Dave, and you even wrote it to me. So, yeah, give us Sue's Corner first, and then give us your final thoughts.
All right. So Sue says, continuing on the Olympic weird story theme, there is the problem with the Seine River being used for some of the water competitions. Now, keep in mind, public swimming in the Seine has been banned since 1923 after officials determined the water was unsafe, according to the BBC. The French have been frantically trying to clean it up to the tune of 1.5 billion euros so far. The mayor of Paris has vowed to, quote, take a dip, unquote, to prove it is safe. But those promised little swims have been postponed indefinitely because the E. coli levels are still so high. The French also refused to discuss if there is a plan B if the river doesn't clear by next month. An alternative plan would be to postpone events for a few days without changing locations, but this would affect the swimmers' preparation for what is for many the most important event of their lives. We'll see how it turns out. As a postscript, the citizens of France, which is undergoing its own political turmoil, are not all in favor of hosting the Olympics, mostly due to the cost. A group proposed that the citizens of Paris have a poop in where they do a number 2 and dump it in the Seine to further damage the chances of using the Seine or having a successful event. Viva la France. And that's Sue's Corner.
Only the French could think like that.
So, for my final thoughts, and actually, listening to Cynthia at the top of the show, tomorrow, July 4th, we celebrate the, Independence Day. They actually kind of declared independence 2 days earlier, but the thing is the Declaration itself was a very aspirational document, and it talked about the inalienable rights of life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. And as you guys well know, that didn't exist in the country, right when it started. And for nearly 90 years, liberty was not afforded everybody that lived in the country. But on the other hand, even in my lifetime, I remember segregation was within my lifetime. Hunger was in my lifetime when you had people actually starving to death in like Appalachia. No running water for sizable portions of the population within my lifetime.
No electricity.
A lack of educational opportunities, electricity, but within my lifetime, I've seen a lot of developments, like with the Tennessee Valley Authority that brought electricity to a lot of the country and similar projects. And that's why I was so positive whenever she said, well, hey, the UN has only achieved 17% of their goals. Those 17 items are huge. I mean, eliminating hunger around the world, cleaning the oceans around the world. And we're just now talking about, Sue was just talking about, even in a capital like Paris, well, they can't swim in their own river. But those can change. And like for the people, like when I was growing up in Pittsburgh, I did go into the water, into specifically the Monongahela River, which was off of the South Side Flats. I lived in Knoxville, a couple of hills up. But my mother would automatically knew where I was as a 6 or 7 year old because she could smell the diesel coming off of my body, and she knew exactly where I was. And today that river is very, very clean. I mean,
water, fish, and everything.
Right. So, I would just like to say, for me, we got a lot of problems, but I'm going to celebrate our 4th of July, and I'll give some thoughts to your friend Bill. It's never going to be perfect, but as long as we aspire to get better, and if you look at the long haul of progress, it's been there, my opinion. So anyway, that's my final thought for tonight.
Well, my final thought is kind of directed toward Mr. Scott. You might not like what we have, but look at the alternative. Anyway, hey guys, thanks for your participation. I appreciate everybody's time, and I look forward to talking to you all next week. Mr. Scott, we're going to let you line them up and, what'd you say, knock them down like dominoes, huh?
That's right. Bowling pins.
Oh, bowling pins. Okay, you didn't switch sports on me now. Okay. All right. All right, guys. Have a good one. Bill, tell us a little bit about your new show. Don't you have a show with you and your wife?
Oh, well, I mean, it's sort of an occasional podcast, but it's our date night podcast. We sort of talk about where we've gone. We're going to do a little staycation and get a couple's massage this weekend. So you might hear about how that goes. But yes, that's it's not a show, but yeah, it's an occasional podcast.
See, I keep up with you, Bill. I know where you're
at. Now, Sue's Corner is the moneymaker. I don't know if you know this, David, but Sue's Corner, that's if you're talking about like the thing that's going to take you to like the next level, like a 6-7 figure income, it's Sue's Corner. That's the thing. That's the $1 million idea you've been sitting on.
Well, thank you. I appreciate it. And Sue, I mean, she enjoys. She's a bigger sports fan than I am, actually. She watches golf, tennis.
Yep.
Once the Pirates are out, she still watches the World Series. She still watches the Stanley Cup when the Penguins are out. So she's really more of a true. I'm a Pittsburgh sports fan. She's a true sports fan.
Dave, what was the name of that pitcher that you told me on Pittsburgh? He's just throwing 100 miles an hour every time.
Paul Skenes.
Okay, but there's another guy they got too. They have another guy too, don't they?
Yeah, they have a couple of pitchers. Their problem has been the bats haven't been supporting their pitching.
Yeah.
They've invested a lot in the pitching, but you got to score some runs.
Yeah, that's Skenes. Yeah. Boy, I've been checking him out. Wow.
Yeah, hopefully he's around. I'm just afraid. My one friend said that his wind-up motion reminds him of the Nationals pitcher who had to get the
Strasburg. Yeah.
Yes, exactly. And and what I asked him, I said, well, with him after he had the surgery, did his wind-up change? And he said, no, it didn't. But that's what he's afraid of with Skenes is that him developing some type of elbow issue because of his delivery. I hope he's dead wrong.
Yeah.
Any signings? Anything going on in Minneapolis this week? You got a couple boxing champions up there now too.
What, boxing?
Yeah, you got a couple guys up there. One's a champion and the other one's a contender. What's the guy? I think he's from Central America somewhere. He moved to Minneapolis. Just won a championship a couple months ago.
Oh, well, I wonder if they fought at the Armory because they've been having a lot of fights there at the Armory, and they've been on Showtime.
That's where they fought.
Okay. I have to talk to my fight guy about them. I haven't had a chance to. I'm in such demand with so much of the different sports and the different music. Matter of fact, I just played at the 50th reunion for the Sounds of Blackness. They had me there as one of the featured artists, which is really, I really appreciated that. Gary Hines. I knew Gary, the director. We played on a football team. We were in about the 9th grade, and we been friends ever since. So.
Was he in TAP? Gary Hines.
That's the other Hines.
Oh, you're talking about the other Hines, the dancer. Yeah, you're talking about the dancer.
Gregory Hines.
Yeah,
the
dancer.
Yeah. Son of Earl Father Hines.
You're right.
All right, guys. Well, hey, let's.
James, I'm sure James knows how to tap dance. I mean, maybe next time we can get him to do some tap dancing for us.
No shit. I don't tap dance. I don't eat bananas, and I don't eat watermelon.
I gotta go. It's been great, guys.
That's great. Everybody. Have a good one, guys. I'll see you all next week.
Yes. Happy birthday, everybody.
Bill, how'd the draft show turn out?
Yeah, well, we had a great run, and